Okay, today we're here with a Weapon Hex team. This figure is crazy, and I've been wanting to build around it for a while, but it hasn't really been like pushed over the edge to where I want it to be until this Soul Sword came out. This is a X-Men X of Swords organized play exclusive sword, so it's a rare, so it's pretty easy to pull out of those swords, the list of those swords. And the Soul Sword and the Weapon Hex are the core of this team. Realistically, the rest of these guys can be anybody you want. We'll be showing off a couple teams with this Weapon Hex figure, and because this thing is insane with this Soul Sword. So first we're gonna go over Weapon Hex, then the Soul Sword, then the rest of this team. This is a Defenders themed team because there's not a whole lot of Defenders, and they're cool. Also, I'm using both Defenders additional team abilities on everyone on this team. So the normal Defenders team ability is if you're standing next to somebody who has the Defenders team ability, you can use their defense instead of yours. The Defender's additional team ability does the exact same thing, just with attack, which is useful because Weapon Hex has both high attack and high defense. So she's not really getting a bunch of like bonuses to her defense, but she's sharing it to the team. And then also the Order is a special thing for the Defenders where basically if anybody who hits you has any one of these abilities, that are being shown on screen right now, anybody else who has any of those abilities cannot hit you for that turn. So it's a very defensive ability on top of the already insane defensiveness of this Weapon Hex. She's borderline unkillable on this team, I'm not gonna lie. You just have to worry about the opponent killing everybody else, basically. So we'll go over Weapon Hex first. So first, she's got this power action trait that is for a mystical team. I'll go over it, but we're never using this ability on this team. So as a power action, you choose an opposing character within 6 squares in line of fire. You give it a target spell token, and you remove it from anybody else. And the friendly characters with the mystical keyword can use any targeting when targeting the character with target spell. Now, both of our strangers here are mystical, but like honestly, this ability is not crazy good even on an all-in mystical team. I'm not gonna lie. Her special attack ability here, Hexagon, is very funny, if not actually quite strong. It's decent, but it's not insane. So she just has Blades, Claws, Fangs, and when she uses it after resolutions, you teleport the person that you hit a number of squares equal to your D6 result. So if you roll a 3 and even if you don't have to deal damage, they can reduce all of it somehow, right? And then you just teleport them 3 squares. So you can teleport them away from her, or into a kill box, or near one of the Daredevils that we'll go over later. It's nice utility to be able to just force your opponent to move where you want them to, basically. Then her crazy thing. This is a stop click. Her stop click has super senses, and also at the end of your turn, heal Weapon Hex 1 click. We're gonna look at the back of her card. Where does that stop click land, do you think? Is it at the end of her card? Well, yes, but it's also on her second click here. So her very second click has the stop click, and then also her last click has the stop click. There's also a super senses in there, so she has super senses the whole way down. She also has probability control in the top 2, and when she's on her bottom one, and then outweight in the middle with normal blades, and then flickering between charge and flurry. So this piece is crazy. She also has Defender's team ability and the Mystics team ability. This also comes up. So what happens is they make an attack against you, even if they hit your 18, which is not awfully hard to do, and you miss your super senses, and then they hit you for 1 damage because you stop turning with the stop click, and then you deal 1 damage back to them with the Mystics, and then if they attack you again, now they have to hit a 19, and then also pray that you don't roll out, and if you do, or they just can't hit you or whatever, then on your next turn, you attack with your special blades thing, flurry with your special blades thing, because you're still on this click until the end of your turn, then you heal up on the end of your turn, back up to your top dial, and we're back where we started. So this is crazy all by itself already. She's already very difficult to kill and very annoying with the Mystics damage. She's got good utility on her damage power, super senses the whole way through, so Precision Strike is a little annoying into her, but again, not the end of the world. They're just gonna hit you on the stop click and take damage anyways, as well as charge and flurry. She has high attack the whole way through. This figure is crazy. We're gonna pair it up with something that makes her even crazier. So this is the lovely Soul Sword, this guy right here. So the Soul Sword says, effect, when they're equipped, they have Blades, Claws, Fangs. We don't really care about that effect. She has Blades, Claws, Fangs the whole way down anyways. And Mystics. She already has Mystics. So what happens if she already has Mystics? Well, why don't I tell you? If this character already has Mystics, when they deal damage from that team ability, choose one. Either deal 2 temp penetrating damage instead, or also heal 1 click. So now if we go back to Weapon Hex hypothetically, looking at the back of her card here, you're here. You take damage. You get hit, you miss your super senses, that's fine. You go to your 19, you deal 1 damage with the penetrating damage from the Mystics, and then immediately after dealing that penetrating damage from the Mystics, you heal up 1. Very cool, we're back where we started, you did no damage and you hurt yourself. This is a problem. It means that your opponents need to flurry into her and hit both of their attacks, where the second one is a 19 that she can probs with the super senses in there in order to push her through, because the Mystics damage happens at the end of resolutions. So if they have multiple attacks coming in the same resolution, the Mystics damage is suspended. But even if they hit her, she still Mystics twice and then heals back up. She only heals twice, so if they hit her off the stop click, they might deal a couple more damage to her, but she's still gonna heal up, and then you're still fine, right? Or you can just deal 4 damage to them with the Mystics, because it's gonna trigger twice. You can just deal 2 damage twice. That's gonna kill a decent amount of pieces, especially after you hit them with her next turn. Or even funnier, you just keep healing up off that click. There is technically ways to beat this. If your opponent poisons you onto your stop click and then just hits you past your stop click, you'll still heal 1, but you're down here, so they got past the first annoyance. But they still have to deal with the second one, which is even funnier. Or if they have Invincible, the Mystic's damage has to actually deal its damage in order for the Soul Sword to heal you. So you'll see this says, if they already have Mystics, when they deal damage from that team ability. So the Mystic's damage is only penetrating. So if they have Invincible or a way to reduce penetrating damage with some other passive ability like the Legacy Thanos, or there's a bunch of other figures that do that as well, they do not take the Mystic's damage, therefore you do not heal. But you know, forcing your opponent to have Invincible or Poison on their guys in order to kill one of your figures that also does a bunch of damage and is a major threat that just charges at them every turn is pretty good. I like that. I'm a fan of that ability. So that's what our main build around here is. That Weapon Hex with the Soul Sword, you want to equip that to her as fast as possible. And in order to get that done, we're going to be using Venom Doctor Strange here because he's got telekinesis. He is a fancy little Venom guy, so he's got some Venom abilities as well as the call-in from the Venomverse ability. But realistically, you just need a Defender with TK. Venom Doctor Strange is the best one, but I'm aware that he's a super rare from the Venom set that is very popular. So if you don't have a Venom Doctor Strange, you do not need it. You just need a Defender with TK. And this is, for my money, the best one. So we've got Summon Help from the Venomverse. When Doctor Strange hits an opposing character, no character has been placed this turn. So if nobody's been sidestepped or carried, you can still move because that's not being considered placed. But generally, you're going to want to do this near the beginning of your turn. You roll a d6, and then on a 3/6, you choose any character from your sideline whose name includes Venom with equal or less points and place them adjacent. This game, that character can't be carried, replaced, or be replaced, and returns to your sideline at the beginning of your next turn. So he just keeps summoning in guys, basically. He's also got traded Plasticity and Shape Change, as well as traded Leadership and Probability Control. So that's now 2 Probability Controls, as well as our guaranteed Leadership. We are playing Venom Strange on his lower dial, which does limit our options to actually summon in from the Venomverse, because we are playing him on the 45-point line, so we have to summon things in that are 45 points or less. Realistically, that Summon and Help from the Venomverse ability is not like crazy strong. It's useful, don't get me wrong, but you do not need to be having the other Venom characters that he can summon in. Mostly because one of them is the $250 Venom Magneto, and then a significantly cheaper, I actually don't know how much this figure is going for, Venom Groot, are basically the only viable options to summon in with his ability. There is the Venom Cyclops, but I think he's really bad and honestly not even worth summoning in, because if your opponent kills him, like they can do so very easily, they're just going to score free points. So even if you have Venom Cyclops, I'd recommend just not bringing him in. But if we look at the stats on our Venom Strange here, we can see he has telekinesis on his top dial. It's also the only click that he has telekinesis on, so this is an intentional point by the designer, so you're supposed to play him on 45 points if you want this ability. He's got his leadership and his probability control at the beginning of his dial, which shows that you kind of want to keep him safe because if he takes any damage. Now, admittedly, he's got shape change and super senses here, the traded shape change with the super senses, so and the probability control. So he's going to roll out at least a little bit, and he's got the Defenders team ability, so if you stick him next to our Weapon Hex or our other Doctor Strange here, his defense will go up to above that 17. He only has an 11 attack, but we're using the Defender's additional team ability, remember, so that attack can go up to a 12 when Weapon Hex is on her top click as well. He's got a running shot, so you can run him up next to the Weapon Hex and to start taking shots, then she can charge up. Good stuff there. He goes to Outwit even after you hit him off, so similar to the Weapon Hex, we go from a Probs to an Outwit, very good utility, as well as some regen if they manage to only deal 2 damage to him, and he also has Mystic, so he's also hitting back. If they do manage to kill Weapon Hex and she drops the Soul Sword, if you can get back to it before your opponent steals it from you, giving him the Soul Sword is the next best bet because he's one of the guys who has the Mystics team ability. Now, admittedly, he's not very melee, so if your opponent runs at him, he's probably going to die, but it's better than nothing. We also get our Sidestep and our Penetrating Psychic Blast into a Pulse Wave, which can be useful. Then getting into our other Mr. Strange. So this Mr. Strange has 2 starting lines, a 150 points and a 75 point. He gets a special, he can always use willpower if you're playing 150 or playing with 75. The weapon hex plus the sword is a little greedy on points, and honest to God, there's not a lot of great defenders. So this is what we're running. So he has traded, give Doctor Strange a free action and choose one of the following: Shape Change, Toughness, or Defense +1. Doctor Strange can use the chosen effect until he chooses with this ability again. When friendly characters are adjacent to Doctor Strange, they can also use this effect. So if you choose Shape Change and run him up next to our girl Laura here, our Weapon Hex, she gets Super Senses and Shape Change, and he still has Shape Change, so he's got a rollout as well. We do see that he does only have the Mystics team ability here, not the Defenders, so he won't pick up the defense buff from Laura, but we're still giving him the Defenders additional team ability, so he'll still pick up her attack if he's next to her. So his 10 attack, as we can see here on his dial, goes up to a 12. This is an older card, Doctor Strange, so we don't get to see the whole dial on the back, but I'll click through it on the figure here in just a moment. He has a special defense ability a little later on, where he can use probability control once on your turn, and once during each attack when it isn't your turn. So he has infinity probs as long as he can keep seeing stuff. The Orb of Agamotto is very funny ability. Then we've got the damage ability here on the last couple clicks, the Book of Vishanti. Give Doctor Strange a power action and choose a friendly character within 3 squares and line of fire. So probably here. Roll a d6 that can't be re-rolled and heal the chosen character a number of clicks equal to half the result. So if they do manage to get past the first stop click on her, if you can get him damaged a little bit so he has this damage ability, he can heal her up past the first stop click, and now she's cooking again, baby. Alternatively, you can also use a double power action and heal all friendly characters within 3 squares instead. This does include himself. He is considered friendly to himself. Now, notably, these Daredevils only have 2 clicks of life, and this Venom Strange has 3. So 2 damage kills them and 3 damage kills him. So this is mostly going to be used to heal them up. Unless they just randomly take some ticks of damage, you can click them back up the full, which is always nice. As we look at the numbers here on this figure, we can see that he starts with a running shot, penetrating, psychic blast, 8 range, flying, and 2 targets. So we do kind of want to keep him in the back line with that energy shield deflections as well. We can give himself a +1 to defense so that when he's being shot at, he goes to a 20 defense, or we can give him the rollout. And he's got outwit as well to turn off any annoying abilities our opponents have. When he takes some damage, he loses the outwit, he goes to perplex, drops a little bit of his speed, which is admittedly quite annoying, and some of his damage, but he still has the penetrating, so it's not bad. We don't care about that too as much since we can still hit through invulnerabilities and other rollouts. Then we go to the special defense ability, which is the Orb of Agamotto, which is the infinity probs, and the Book of Vishanti, which is the big heal move. We got a poison there, as well as pulse wave, so we have some options for dealing damage when they do run up next to us and start hitting us. And then we're just the same on the next click, just with some slightly different numbers, and then we die. So not a whole lot of health, but remember, if you do double power action him, then he heals all the way back up to that blue starting line, no matter where he's on. Even if he's on that last click, you double power action him, he heals 3 to all friendlies, including himself. 1, 2, 3. That's that starting line that we know and love on that character, and he's good to keep blasting and shooting away. That is just a double power action. It's not like once per game or anything like that. He has to be cleared, but if you can stick him next to our Venom Strange, which has our leadership, then you can clip that token off of him in the pinch and start healing up the entire team. This team is very hard to kill. And to add on to that, we're going to throw on these little Daredevil guys. So again, these guys are using both the Defenders additional team ability as well as the Order team ability, and they have the Spider-Man team ability. So that means they're a wild card, which means they can't copy Mystics because it's uncopyable, but they can copy the Defenders team ability. So you can feel pretty confident running one of these pieces up with Laura to give her a second probability control, because these are just utility pieces, as well as they have the combat reflexes that we can see here, and they'll copy her defense, which can go up to a 19. So that we can kick that defense all the way up to 1,000,000. So they are quite hard to hit. They have a traded stealth here that we can see, so if you're able to drop them off in hindering, that's even better. Keep them next to Laura, so they, or at least have lines to Laura so that they can do the probs. And then, since he's got stealth and combat reflexes, your opponent's gonna have to run up to him as long as you can keep him in hindering. So then, once they run up to him, he can break away for free. He doesn't have to break away from characters. He ignores characters and elevation, so you can run him up a hill. And then also, he can see through hindering. So if your opponents have stealth, he can break that stealth by hitting them, which is nice. But also, Laura's a melee attacker, so she doesn't really give a shit about stealth. But our strangers are a little bit more ranged. He does technically have a range 4 here with the 3 targets, but that's not realistically how you play him. You run him up in stealth, he hides, he starts probability controlling all the annoying things. He's only worth 25 points on his low dial anyways, which is what we're playing him at. And so he's not really worth it for your opponent to kill him. But if they do run up next to him, they have to beat the 19 now defense with the combat reflexes. If he's next to Strange, they have to beat a 20 or beat the shape change. If he's next to Laura, they have to beat like 1,000,000 because she'll Defenders team him and then they'll get the +2. He has a probability control to reroll anything that they might be hitting him with. And then he cracks back with a triple target flurry incapacitate. That's mostly what you want to be doing with this character once he's engaged. You either drop him up in the middle of the fight in some hindering, run him up there with Laura. They're both being pain in the ass. They're both really, really hard to kill, especially with a Strange nearby. They all have a million defense, shape change, super senses, annoying ass shit. And then when he is right next to 3 enemies, he can target all 3 of them with his melee attacks, incapacitate all 3, and then flurry to incapacitate all 3 again. You double token anybody you're standing next to, and then you just clear, and then they clear, and then you double token them again, and then they clear, and then you clear, and then Laura kills them, and you're cooking, you're happy, you're fine. Again, they do only have 2 health, so they're pretty easy to kill, but they're only worth 25 points. So it's not that much of investment if you do lose them. It's not that bad. The Doctor Strange and the Laura Kinney are our major hitters here. As well as, we have 10 points left over, so you can do whatever utility item you like here. I like the Starlight Sword for one of these Daredevils. The Starlight Sword, I have misplaced the card currently, but it gives the user Blades Claw's Fangs, like all the swords do, so works nice with that flurry. Notably, if you're using Blades Claw's Fangs, you can only target 1 enemy, so you can't split up the Blades Claw's Fangs roll. But still, with the flurry is quite nice, especially since the Starlight Sword says whenever you roll a d6 for the Blades Claw's Fangs, you can, after resolutions, you can teleport the person that you're hitting a number of squares equal to the Blade's result. This is after resolutions, so when you flurry, say you hit twice, right? We're flurrying, we're hitting, we've got probs, we're copying her 12 because of the Defender's additional team ability, so we're hitting pretty high. We're gonna hit both of our attacks just for this example. You hit the attack, you roll a 3, then you get to attack again, you roll a 2, right? Not great damage, but still 5 damage, not penetrating or anything like that. But then after resolutions, you get to teleport them 3 squares and then 2 squares. So between that teleporting and Laura's teleporting, you have a lot of control over where your opponents are going. Put them out of position, put them into a kill box, move them away from your squishies in the back and teleport them into Laura's asshole. It's a lot of fun manipulation that you can do with your opponent's team, backed up by an unkillable Laura Kinney Weapon Hex with the Soul Sword. So generally, what you're going to want to do with this team on the first turn is have the Venom Strange telekinesis the Soul Sword over to Laura. She will pick it up. Then you can have Doctor Strange carry up Laura into the fight and then move a Daredevil up to back them up. That's your 4 actions, 1 to telekinesis, 2 to equip, 3 to carry, 4 to move up. And then on your next turn, this Daredevil can pair with that Strange, carry that Daredevil up with the Strange, maybe making a running shot if you've got it. He can take running shots. He can give the shape change to Laura if you're worried about your opponent coming into your guys. Your defenders buffing all their defenses with the Daredevil and the Laura Kinney having the Defenders team ability. Everybody's getting a bunch of attack bonuses because of the Defenders additional team ability. And your guys are hard to multi-hit because of the Order team ability. Now, notably, that this means that all of your guys cost 7 more points. So that kind of maybe adds up over the course of a game, but realistically, they can't ever kill her, so it doesn't matter. They're going to score 32 points on these guys instead of the 25, but it's what we take because these guys are basically unkillable, especially when they're standing next to both of these. They'll pick up the Defender's defense. They'll pick up the +1 defense from this. They got their combat reflexes. They might pick up a shape change from here. You've got outwits. You've got probability controls. You've got summoning in help from the Venomverse. This team is very fun. Very happy that we were able to put something like this together with the new Soul Sword for this Weapon Hex. I am very excited about this team and about this Weapon Hex and Soul Sword combo. The Defenders is one of the more funny keywords that Weapon Hex has. You can also build her just normal X-Men, slap her in an X-Men team, probably does fine. The Weapon X teams are also gonna like this. Warp World only exists for the chases in X-Men Rise and Fall. Those are the only Warp World figures, so you're probably not going to be able to build a Warp World team, but if you can try it, go for it. Have my blessing. And then Mystical, so stay tuned for that. We'll be showing you for my mind, a much more competitively viable Weapon Hex team, just because there's better Mystical figures in the game than there are Defenders. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed this Defenders showcase of a Weapon Hex team with the annoying bullshit you can do with a Soul Sword on the Weapon Hex, and we will be seeing you guys next time.